Let's talk about contingencies in the contract.
Limits on certain things.
Let's talk about contingencies in the contract.
In my opinion, the biggest contingency in most contracts is the financing contingency. But in order to understand the financing contingency, let's back up to the start of the deal. So prior to seeing houses, most people will get what's called a pre-approval from the bank. They might call it something different, but in essence, the bank says, hey, we took a quick glance at certain documents, provided you can make it through a full underwriting, we're happy to give you a loan on these terms. Which is great. That's the first step in the process. But what you need ultimately to meet your contingency in the contract is your commitment. The bank won't issue a commitment until they've received certain documents from you. All banks are going to require tax returns, pay stubs, things of that nature. Where is your money coming from and what debts do you owe? They're going to want to see credit card reports. Basically, they want to see your assets versus your liability and see if you can then take on a further liability, i.e. the mortgage payment. Contracts provide for 45 days from the date of the contract for the buyer to obtain that commitment. If the buyer gets that commitment during that 45-day window, the financing contingency is then waived and they're locked into the deal. But at that point, provided the commitment is in, you typically don't have any issues. Now, there's other contingencies, but just from the financing end, once you get that commitment, you've met that contingency. The important thing that people or the buyers need to realize is that pre-approval is not the commitment and that you do need to work towards getting that commitment. However, the ace in the hole is if the buyer is denied for the mortgage or doesn't receive that commitment within the 45 days, depending on how the contract's negotiated, they're able to terminate the deal and get a full refund of their down payment.